the way you're doing things isn't quite right, because I know I can't do it as well as they can do it. Anyone can relate to this, right? Or we haven't mapped this out as good as we could have and as good as we will in the future. That was shit house, that was bad. I'm kind of embarrassed to watch it. I think that's quite a good lesson. I'm perfecting my instrument, and I call it my instrument because I think anyone can relate to this, right? Anyone can relate to this because anyone has an instrument. Maybe your instrument is your voice, which Vin Zhang, who's like a communication expert, always calls his voice his instrument because he's perfecting it.
Play with your voice, play with your instrument.
Essentially, but everyone has an instrument regardless of what industry you're in. Maybe it's a laptop, maybe it's a guitar, a literal instrument. Maybe it's cooking pans if you're a chef. Maybe it's the FX3, this thing right here. Lately, I feel like I'm perfecting it. Not in the case of like I'm literally perfecting it, like I know every single thing, all the ins and outs, but I'm beginning to. And that just feels good. It feels really good because it not only makes you more confident in your work, but it obviously gives the clients better results. There's something very nice about quote unquote perfecting your instrument or being on the journey to do so. How can you consistently evolve something? How can you consistently put in hours and hours and hours on one instrument to get to that end goal of basically knowing it better or using it better than the majority of people out there? How nice do those lights look out there? What do we call them? A little, I don't know, the lights look good, a good ambience. I should bring them in here. Just listening to the Diary of a CEO podcast with Alex Hormozy. Some cool things he says, like one that just stuck out to me just then was we have a habit of like underpricing ourselves because we think the skill or service that we offer is easy to do because we've had years and years of doing it. So take me, for example, like video editing and filming and designing even. We typically think we should underprice that, or in our minds we think we should underprice that because we think it's easy. But that doesn't mean that everybody else thinks it's easy, or it doesn't even mean that anybody thinks it's easy. We just think it's easy-ish, just a bit, easy-ish, because we've had years and years and years of experience of doing it. So we feel a bit guilty for charging for that. But from the outside, that thing is hard to do. So for a different comparison, think about something you're not good at. Fixing my car. I can do the basics, but if a mechanic came to your house and said, hey, I will do this job for you and it's going to completely fix your car completely, it's going to make it run so much smoother. If you trust them, you would quite happily pay them a fair bit. I imagine I probably would, because they're an expert in that field. And because I know I can't do it as well as they can do it. Just an interesting way to think of it. Just because we've had years and years in experience of doing something doesn't mean we should underprice it. Doesn't mean we should undersell it. I think that's quite a good lesson. This one sounds funny, but I think there's something satisfying about realizing that your process or your project or your brand or the way you're doing things isn't quite right. Now, I know that sounds kind of odd, being like, hey, that's kind of satisfying knowing that something's wrong. But I mean, it kind of sounds normal at the same time because it means there's an element of growth and you are realizing there is growth to be had. I just had a realization of something I'm working on and we're working on in the business that we basically identified something that can be improved, and it was something we didn't do an awesome job of. And I think that's it's self-awareness, so points for that. And it also feels nice to be like, hey, you know what? We didn't do this, or we haven't mapped this out as good as we could have and as good as we will in the future. So there's something quite satisfying about that. It reminds me of like what people say about podcasts or starting a side adventure. But let's go with a podcast example. So if you look back on your very first podcast episode, you're probably going to be like, that was shit house, that was bad. I'm kind of embarrassed to watch it. And you hear so many people say that with podcasts, TV shows, anything that they do, content that they post, especially that. What do they say? Cringeworthy. Embrace the cringe, because that's so true. But I think that's true with anything like that. If you start something new, expect the first month, 10 episodes, year, expect that to be pretty average compared to where you want to be, where you want to go to. So just self-reflection. But self-reflection is good because you've identified the growth and you just know you can do better at the end of the day. So it's a good thing.